All right, here's our next project we got coming up. That should be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. Left some details of it in the last video. So we've done a lot of 3TC stuff pretty much for the last 25 years. I mean, you name it. Now evolution's kind of changed with the 3TC. There's a video you can see. This one's got a billet head. Billet 3TC. Turbo application we're doing for a customer. We're hoping to get these things back into production. It's gonna happen, just taking a little longer than we'd like, but it's definitely gonna happen. And we hope to have them in stock and rolling along. We've got a lot of inquiries going for these things. But hopefully it happens. It's got all custom valves, titanium intake valves. You'll see it on the motor soon. We're doing the whole builds. Standard cast block down there, but these things have really come a long way. It's got, the block is actually halfway cemented. We got to run water through the upper portion of the block. So this particular setup, we remove the water pump, and we run an electric water pump that you see down there, since it's a strictly drag setup. So basically, you still run your same radiator, just electric water pump. And this particular head does not have any water that runs through it. The only port that flows water in this head is actually the two rear water holes in the back of the head. And so you can see back there, we got a water fitting bringing the water out. So that'll come back out through there, comes into this hose, into the radiator. Then there's a water fitting, see if I get it, down there. This one sucks the water into the water pump, and then we'll push it back out into the motor. So that's how that whole water system works there. And Haltech fuel injection, we got all the components in. It's going to have an Elite 1000 ECU, along with Haltech's new IC7 dashboard and their CAN wideband setup. So that's going to be cool. This thing's going to have all the latest in electronics as far as that, for data logging and keeping tabs on all the information that we need. Intake manifold we custom made. We had these runners made a long time ago. We used to have them casted. It's a nice tapered setup, but we don't have them anymore. We're actually trying to focus on a billet setup now, so we'll be working on that. We get a lot of inquiries to get that going. Gas tank up front. It's gonna have 220-pound injectors. It's got some Siemens Decas. It's gonna run on E85 or pretty much either 1-ethanol or VPX98. Those are gonna be the two options. Custom intercooler that we built. Purchased the core, made all the end tanks for it, all the intercooler piping. The header was actually off of a buddy of ours in Hawaii. Used to be his old setup, and we just modified the wastegate portion of it because it was kind of sticking out front. The hood wouldn't have closed if we would have left it the way that it was. Got a wastegate dump down there. O2 port. It's got a 3-inch down pipe that's gonna go down. It's gonna step up to a 3.5-inch portion. You can kind of see it here. So it's 3.5. It's got a bracket there. It's V-band, and that's where it steps up to 3.5 down there. So cool setup. It's got a G-Force 5-speed in it, and looking forward to it. We're hoping we get some really solid times out of this thing. It's gonna live in Hawaii, so basically we'll test it here, get the car dialed in, set up, and then it'll ship over to Oahu, and then it'll be raced on either Maui or Kauai, Big Island. Believe it or not, I think 4 of the islands have racetracks, and they have pretty good racetracks, except for COVID. COVID's kind of obviously messing with all that. So they're pretty strict over there in Hawaii right now as far as opening the track, but hopefully that'll change soon. We're looking forward to that. And yeah, and just have fun. It's got a precision. It's got a 70mm compressor billet wheel in there. Let's see if we get a better shot of that. So it used to be the header was designed around an on-center turbine housing. So if you look, we actually switched it now to a tangential style turbine housing. So it was actually too close without this spacer that I added. It's got a 1-inch stainless spacer now to drop the turbo down to pick up some space so it wasn't so confined in this area here. So that way picked up some room and stuff like that. But yeah, no alternator. Either side's gonna have a 16-volt turbo start, or you know, one of those 16-volt setups. It'll just basically power the engine, electric fan, water pump. It's enough, more than enough power. It's got a Weldon 1100A EFI pump. I don't know if you could see that down there. So it's got a Weldon 100 micron inlet filter and then a 10 micron out filter to make sure it catches any particles, just so we don't get any issues with fuel injection clogging or anything like that. Standard distributor, nothing crazy, simple. They work. No reason to go coil packs, believe it or not. And these, I always tell customers, man, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate the build, because it'll just drive you crazy. So we keep it simple, and that way they go out there, have fun, and that's what it's about. I mean, any drag car, everybody knows you spend a ton of money, ton of time, and you just want to have fun. When it gets to be involved where it's too much work and too much time and too much downtime, it ends up being not fun. So we got these special clamps here from our buddy over at CPC in Australia, Custom Plenum Creations. If anybody needs any Wiggins style clamps, he builds a really badass clamp. Big O-ring, seal it all, very good. We use all of his stuff, and we're hoping to get some custom stuff coming soon for the 3TC, and hopefully we can collaborate together to get that going. We got a lot of inquiries for the 3TC and custom parts. We actually make a lot of custom parts and do a lot of 3TC work. So stay tuned. Next will be this thing fired up, and then after that we'll be at the track. I'm going to shoot another video now of some 3TC stuff that we make, cylinder heads, and I mean, we make all kinds of stuff for these things, and porting and pistons and all kinds of fabrication parts and custom, you know, custom one-off stuff that nobody makes. All right, here's some 3TC heads that we're working on for a couple customers. This one's actually going to go to New York, and this one's going to go to Oregon. So both factory valve setups. We do all the porting, intake and exhaust, bronze guides, you know, competition valve job. This particular one, we welded up all the exhaust ports. This is a newer style head, so we did that just to get rid of all the emission ports and things, just to keep it simple for the customer. But yeah, these things actually work very well with the factory valves. Keeps things simple, that way you don't got to go and change the valve seats and do all that to try and put bigger valves in them. This one's already assembled. This one you can see has got epoxy in it. The newer style heads don't have all the same material that the older style heads do. So basically, the older style heads, they actually casted them with more material in them, and port for port, this one would break through in this water jacket where this one doesn't. So just like on the exhaust side, Toyota, we didn't have to have emissions back in the 70s, and none of these ports were there, so we didn't have to weld any of that up. And this one's all together already. It's got our, I don't know if you could see that there, it's got our retainer and valve spring combo. So should be good. Can't wait to see these things on the motors running, making power. All right guys, don't forget, subscribe, like, Join the channel. We have a lot of cool things coming up. Finally, we'll be getting back to the drag strip with that red car that you saw, and that's where we really start to get a lot of footage of in cars and outside and just all kinds of cool things coming up. So stay tuned, tell your friends like I always say, and it's gonna be cool. All right, see ya.